This is Daf Yerushalmi Shabbos. The article Oz Bahar edition. We're on the fifth line down on Ayin Gimel Rav Harabi Shmuel, which in the Vilna is on the sixth line down on Nun Tes on the base. Now we learned yesterday that Elizabeth Azariah and Rabbi Shmuel both hold that we go by days, not by onos. Rabbi Elizabeth Azariah says 3 days, or Shmuel says 4 days. And Rabbi Akiva holds you go by onos, 12-hour onos. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Shmuel abad yom ona v'layla ona. Rabbi Shmuel says that a day is an ona and a night is an ona, meaning 12-hour period is an ona. Rabbi Akiva abad yom ona v'layla ona. Akiva says a day is an ona and a layla is an ona. 12-hour period is onos. Ma beinei? What's the difference? What's an afkamina? Why do they disagree? Ono shlemos beinei. The difference is whether you need ono shlemos. Rabbi Shmuel, as we said, says it doesn't matter how many hours of onos have elapsed as long as it's on the fourth day. So therefore, if it's part of an ona, that's sufficient. You don't need to have a full ona in order for it to work out. Rabbi Akiva, Akiva says no, you need full onos. You can't. Part of an ona is not sufficient. Don't say miktas oina koina. But Tani we learned this in the Brayso. So I'll do Rabbi Akiva. Actually, we learned in the word yesterday in them concerning it. But Rabbi Akiva himself said, if part of the first ona has gone by, mashlila miktas oina shishis, you have to be mashlim into a sixth oina in order to have 5 complete 12-hour periods. Tani, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Omer Yom B'Layla Oina. The day and night is an oina, or mixas oina kikula, and part of an oina is like an entire oina. So he has different definition of ona. He holds yom and laila, a 24-hour period is called an oina, and but mixas oina is kikula. Part of an oina, you don't have to have the full 24 hours. But Tani came, we learned. I'll die to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, according to Elazar ben Azariah, who holds. Remember that we said that. Has to be on the third day, just on the third day from the time of their relations. So, since that's the case, sometimes you have a day, 24 days, and a koshu, and she's tar. And sometimes you have 2 days, you have 2 whole days, but it's missing a little bit, and she's still tummy. Okay, now the Gemara is going to explain. Skipping a parenthesis here. Parenthesis is also in the article. Let's check. And the article version just took it out, so we're not skipping anything in the article version. The Vilna is skipping a parenthesis. Yom b'koshu v'yitor hechaveda. A yom and a koshu, and she's told how does it work? Shimshon is based on Arab Shabbos kun mishkia. Shkia zachama. So she had relations Arab Shabbos before Shkia, right, which is Friday afternoon. She then had an emission of that zera from that bia Motzei Shabbos after Shkia Zachama, so it's already on the third day. Like Friday, Shabbos, and then it's beginning of Sunday because it's already Motzei Shabbos. So therefore, it's on the third day. Hareish kan yom b'koshu, you barely have a little bit more than 24 hours. V'hitayra, she's tar. Shnei yomim b'chaser koshu v'itmeya. How do you have 2 days missing something and she's still tmeya? If you have Shimshon's based on Arab Shabbos achar Shkia Zachama, Arab Shabbos after Shkia. Oh, it's already after Shkia. It's ready. The Shabbos already. The Potab Echa b'Shabbos Kim Shkia Zachama, and then she was poled on Shabbos on Echa b'Shabbos on Sunday before Shkia. They're almost 2 complete days, right? Because she saw like 6:01 p.m. So Mishka was 6. She saw 6:01 p.m. on Erev Shabbos, right? And then she saw Sunday at 5:59 p.m. just before Shkia, right? So it's almost a full 48 hours, but she only had 2 days because she only had Shabbos and Sunday. It has to get on to the third day, so she's still tamei. And even though it's almost 48 hours, she can have a little bit more than 24 hours, and she's tar. A little bit less than 48 hours, she's still tamei. From everybody's opinion, we derived fully Yom Kibul Yisrael's Torah. So the Am Yisrael is a Kabbalah Torah when they're Tfulei Yom. They went to the because they went to the mikveh on Friday, whether it was the Thursday night, Friday, which is Friday evening, according to halacha, or even if they went to the mikveh Friday day. It didn't matter because they only achieved full tara from an emission of zera by Harav Shemesh when the sun sets the evening following the Tevilah. So therefore, they were all Tfulei Yom when the Torah was received, which was sufficiently Torah. We learn from we understand that a person who's Tfulei Yom, even in the days when they had Takonas Ezra to go to the mikveh before learning Torah, after having had relations or after having a mission, Tfulei Yom was allowed to learn Torah. It's not a problem. So Tfulei Yom can be the Torah. But that's of course talking about the women who might have had, and only the women who were Polei Zera, who might have had that emission 3 days after having had relations. But by men, they were already able to be fully Torah, because they were assuming that they didn't see Kerry after they were Poresh from their wives. My timer, what pasuk teaches us this? It says it says that like Korban says, the next day after they started the Prisha, they already learned their clothes. But Gosh came to Torah to be Tvila. So we're metal themselves in Tvila. But to learn that Yom Shlishi, there was only given the third day. See, we know Yom HaShlishi. Rabbi Yechon said, Zudi Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Zari, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Akiva. Everything we learned till now, the two different shitas, or Lezer, Rabbi Zari, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Akiva. But the majority of poskim hold, says Rabbi Yochanan, that the halacha follows the opinion of the Chachamim. I should say, I'm quoting from the article Mikvos, so I guess the majority of poskim not hold like what Rabbi Yochanan says here, that the halacha follows the opinion of the Chachamim that 6 12-hour onus, a full 72 hours are required. The poskim are near there, Kuftzai Vav. The preparatory abstention lasted from Wednesday morning till Shabbos morning, a full 72 hours, because we hold that the Torah was actually given on Shabbos, not on Friday. So only after the full 72 hours elapses, then any emission which comes out is considered to be become rancid, and therefore it's just plain liquid, no longer has the emission, and it's not matame. It goes like Rabbi Zir saying Rabbi Yechon. Zos Toras Hazov Asher Teitzim and Shichva Zera. There's a linkage made between a Zov and a Shichva Zera. So what's the connection here? Mator Zov at Shlosha Yomim. The Korban Ada says, "Matar zav shloshim dim rosh shlosh rios b'shlosh yom mitamei." If a zav sees male zav sees 3 rios in 3 days, he's tamei. And rosh shlosh rios ba'arba yomim tahar. But he sees 3 rios in 4 days, he's tahar. Like Beisil Reishim Sechazavim. So to the after Shechva Zera ad shlosh yomim. After Shechva Zera yoytz tzmei tmei ad yom daled. It goes out. She's telling me until she gets into the 4th day after a full 72 hours, and we don't learn out from Sinai. Going on to the next part of our Mishnah. What's missing here, of course, in the Yerushalmi is the whole guide to Matzah Torah, which we have in our paragraph Akiva in the Bavli. But okay, so Anatzinan Marchitzis Hakotan. We learned in our Mishnah that you can wash the cotton on the 3rd day after Bris Milah. So Tanya Beis Rav, in the house of Rav, they learn Machitzis Milah. You only can wash the place of the Milah because that's where the issue is, not the rest of the body. Rabbi Shem Yochanan said, "Loch Mishar Machitzis Cotton." Rabbi Shem Yochanan, no, the loch is the entire the sakana is such that you can wash the entire body. Rabbi Yosef said, "A korchach at to'emer Machitzis Cotton." The Pnei Moshe says Shemarchitzas Hakotin Nuscha Mitis. That's the proper version of the Mishnah. Sheikosman Sheitir B'Yom Shlishi Chal Yos B'Shabbos Ne'as Hakotahu. So the whole point is because sakana. Became a chitzis kol gufo near sakana, and the entire body is necessary for the sakana, as we shall see momentarily. It says here, Tani, the court may change this to Ditani. Shmuel, Tani, Shmuel, Lolam, Ein Monim, Lo Shem, Lo Chamin, Me Al Gabe Mako B'Shabbos. You don't curtail oil and hot water from a mak on Shabbos. And Rabbi Yosef said, Kol Shor have a Rabbi Zira. Rabbi, there's the Korban Ada adds here Rabbi Ba. And Moshe says that Rabbi, you say Rabbi Zira, Rabbi Zer, my Rebbe. The name of this is a parenthetical remark, and the raya comes after that parenthetical remark. Rabbi Koshava, Rabbi Zira, Amarli, Tani Masnisach, learn your brisa blood, El Shemazalfin, Hamayim Agabe Maka B'Shabbos. You know, go sprinkle water on a mak on Shabbos. Now it goes on. That was the parenthetical remark from Rabbi Yossi till Agabe Maka B'Shabbos. You can sprinkle water. I'm not sure, cold water, hot water, but you can sprinkle water on that kind of refuah is mutter on Shabbos. But in any event, now it goes on. Im oimer shemarchitzas amila. If you're going to say the only marchitz the mila, right? Ma b'makos gadol, makos gadol. What's the chiddush? We know from a gadol that you can be marchitz at the ein monim lo shem lo chamin gabe makah b'Shabbos, like Shmuel said. So that's the case. So you don't need a Mishnah for that, right? What's the Mishnah telling us by the cotton, which you don't know by a gadol? It must be by a cotton. You're allowed not just be marchitz, the makah, but kol gufo. That's the raya. Okay. If not, say the only gear the gist is marchitz meal. Ma be makos gadol makos shel cotton. Rabbi Avo b'shem Rabbi Elazar said, "Look, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. This is later on." In Perikutes Halacha Gimel. Perikutes Halacha Gimel, where we have a parallel Mishnah, it says, Machitz Zakad Lifnei Mila Achar Mila, Sav Lo B'Yarav Lo B'Keli, Elazar ben Azariah Omer, Machitz Zakad Yom HaShlishi, Shchal Yos B'Shabbos, Shnei Ravi B'Yom HaShlishi, B'Yosem Karvim. So Halacha is like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah in that Mishnah. And I guess it's going to tell you that our Mishnah, which is a Stam Mishnah, indicates that we paskin like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Rabbi Abun b'shem Rabbi Abo said, "Time of Rabbi Yochanan ben Elazar ben Azariah, v'hi b'yom ha'shlishi b'yosem kavim," which is the pasuk which he quotes there. I think it was the pasuk which he quotes there. Yes, that's what it says. But the chiddush is b'yosem kav en ksiv kan el b'yosem kavim. So the idea is that since it says b'yosem kavim, not b'yosem ko'ev, so the learning is going on the ivarim, on the limbs, not on the people. So b'shash ko'ev and kavim limb, all of their limbs were hurting upon them, and that's about gedolim too. It's about adults. So evidently we see that you can wash according to this, it's not just by a katan has a bris milah. You can be marchitzin as kol gufo, but even by a gadol has a bris milah, you can be marchitz kol gufo. So, but it is speaking, both Mishnayos, it is speaking about a katan, not about a gadol. I don't see anybody makes that point. I just took a look a little bit, but it's interesting issue. Courage also applied to a gadol. Okay, says more further. Rabbi Yaakov Baracha Amar Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yochanan Mefaktay El Chayosa. Rabbi Yaakov Baracha said Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yochanan would direct the midwives. Kol shikuyin the astun avdim b'chola. Any medicinal procedures that you do to a child who's on a weekday of the Meshusa, do on Shabbos. So Gemara says the Lachein Tzricha, what's the Chiddush? Afilu b'yom hashlishi shechal yos b'Shabbos, even on the third day, which comes out on Shabbos. So again, he teach. We know this already from the Mishnah, but we're saying from the pasuk. But he was telling the Mialdos that don't think since it's the third day after Mila, it's not a sakana anymore. Say no, it's not just the Yom Mila itself, and we're telling you the Mialdos even on the third day after Mila, there's still sakana, and therefore don't refrain from anything which you do on a weekday. That's Shmuel Marmineh sakana. So the one says, Shmuel says it's an account of sakana. So Rabbi Yossi boy imne sakana mechaim lochamin. If it's on account of sakana, then what do you mean you're allowed to wash marchitzin? You're like, to heat up the water itself. Right? This is sakana nefoshes. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Talmon said, "Tak mechaim lochaim Shabbos." Yeah, it doesn't mean specifically you wash if you have hot water. It means you can heat up the water itself. It tiny came. Learn to mechame adam aluntis. A person can heat up a towel. V'nosa gabe maka agabe maka Shabbos, and put on a wound on a wound he has on Shabbos. The Gemara goes on to a slightly a non-pikuach nefesh issue of refuah. It says, the person should not take a pot full of hot water, a plate full of hot water. Shabbos put it on his stomach on Shabbos, and because it looks like refuah, and refuah is also on Shabbos. So the Gemara says, no, it's mutter because it's not. It looks like they're a chitza, not their refuah, and therefore it's permissible. Okay, now we come to the next part of the Mishnah. The next part of the Mishnah talks about they put the red thread on the horns of the goat, which they sent out Lazazel. So Gemara says, so initially they put them in their windows. Seems that every person is put in the window, I guess in Yerushalmi, maybe throughout the world, who knows? They just put the red threads in their windows. And some of them would turn white. Some of them remain red, which clearly was a bad simon. So those whom turned white would be embarrassed. Those whom remained red would be embarrassed in front of those whom remained white. This is not in the Bavli. So then they made Chazio's question so peaceful shehechol. They didn't do individualized anymore. They put one at the opening of the hechol. Still, there were years when it was white and years when it was red, and obviously years when it went red, it stayed red, they got depressed. So they So then they put it on they tied it to the mountain, to a stone by the mountain where they pushed the soil off the mountain. So our Mishnah says it was on the head of the soil Mishtalech. It's brought down at the Mishnah Yuma says that there was half on the mountain and half on the goat. That's how we reconcile. And presumably they would not tell people that if what person who was there, people there saw it, nobody else saw. So Kosh Baruch Hu says, let's come and demonstrate this. Let's come and talk about this. The Tanya Rebbe and says, your sins will be bleached. Tanya Rebbe Lezer he dashes it differently. Even like your sins are like the years between Shamayim and Earth. You sin tremendous amount, like the years it takes to walk between heaven and earth, which is Mahal Chamesh Mil Shana. What it takes to walk in 500 years. Then, nevertheless, they can be bleached. Like you can do tshuva, they will be bleached. But if it's more than that, then than that amount, katsemer you. So then they won't be bleached completely. They'll be like wool, which is a little bit darker. So yutim kashanim kashel yabino, they'll be white like snow. But if it's more than that, katsemer you. Okay, so they and the pasuk miadimu kal tola means if it's more than the mahal from Shemayim Ba'aretz. Yes, and it was a Josh, you can dash about that, but leave that for a different time. Rabbi Shimon Yuchtem Kishanim is not Kimeg Kishanim between Shvaretz, but Kishnei Avos, which is actually 2 more years, 502 as opposed to 500. Avram was 175, Yitzchak 180, Yaakov 147, which altogether is 502. Kashim Kishtei Avos Kashel Yabinu. Yosem Mikan. I guess if you that means you have your schus, so you don't have full schus avos, which you would have if there was 502 or less. Katzemer you. They are like tzemer, less bleached. Arikol collect the Oraham and Baruch Mordechai are also 502. And there's the Shnei Avos, Oraham and Baruch Mordechai. You can make just about that as well. Rabbi Yehuda and Bampazi im yuchatechem kashanim kashel yabinu. They became white like snow in Mikdash Rishon, Barishon. Katola katzemayu b'Mikdash Sheni. Didn't have so much chus, so therefore it was they didn't have the same degree of kapara. That is the Pnei Moshe. Not the Korban says differently. Korban says Barishon means when you sin the first time, your sins become white like snow. Shana v'cheto ain't miskapo kokach. You don't achieve the same kapara when you repeat the sin over again. And that brings us to the top of Ein Dal Ralph. So we'll stop here for today.